Welcome, everybody. We are now crashing the table with Brent from Flannel Games. The game is Furtherance, and it's currently on Kickstarter. Go ahead and check it out right now. So, Brent, can you walk us through what we're looking at here? Brent's going to actually try to do the real teach. I shouldn't say that. Brent's going to do the real teach today, so I could take a little bit of a break. Go ahead, Brent.
No problem. You'll have to remind me, how do I draw lines in Tabletop Simulator again?
Hold the tab key. See, I knew I was going to have to teach him something.
Yep.
Tab, if you hold it down, lets you draw lines, and then if you tap it, it does little arrows.
There it is. Okay. Yes, I knew there was something like that. All right. So basically, we'll get started by talking about leaders. So you have this stack of 10 leaders here. These are 10. We talked earlier in our other interview about individual player powers.
Yes.
These leaders give you an individual player power. That's a unique ability you'll have throughout the game. So you'll start with one of these. The individual leader power is at the top of the leader, and then there is a list of actions at the bottom of it. You'll notice in each player spot there are 2 workers. Each of these workers can be used to perform one of these actions listed on the bottom of the leader card. So basically what you'll do is when you perform one of those actions, you'll turn one of these workers sideways and you'll perform that action. So the first action, basically the whole game is taking your turn, performing those actions, and moving and attacking with units that are on the board, which we'll get to when we get to the unit acquisition action. So the first action you can perform is mining. So what you'll do is you'll turn your worker and you'll collect 4 gold. So in Tabletop Simulator, we already have them in stacks of 4, so you can just grab a stack and mine. Then the next 3 actions are all for acquiring cards, which you can get from this shared market right here. So there's always 9 face-up cards that players can acquire from. So there's 3 items, 3 buildings, and 3 units. The first action is the market action, which lets you buy items. When you perform the market action, you can buy 2 items. Each item at the bottom has a amount in coins that item costs. So for example, the sharpener costs 6, the report costs 2. So when you perform the market action, you will just take your gold, pay however much gold is listed at the bottom of that item card, and then grab that item and place it face up in front of you. Items are all one-time use. So you'll hold it in front of you until you use it, and then once you use it, you'll get that ability, and then you'll discard it. Okay.
And when it goes to a discard, is there a general discard that sort of ends up over here, or is it normally next to these?
So it really just depends on how you want to play it. We rarely see cards get shuffled into a deck. Decks don't normally get gone through by the end of the game, so there's no shuffling it back in, and there's no cards that let you search through a discard pile. Normally players just put the cards back in the box, or if you have enough room on the table, you can always just form a discard pile next to it. The one thing about the discard pile is because there's 3 cards face up, sometimes people look at the discard pile as a 4th option they can buy. So that can get confusing. So we normally just put it face down to the side and just kind of stack them up there. Items, buildings, and units when they get destroyed. So those are items. Next are buildings. So there's 2 actions associated to buildings. The first is the build action. So you'll spend the amount in the box.
You there, Brent? Okay. Hold on, please.
Glass determines how...
Brent, could you hear me? We had a data drop there for a second, so if you don't mind going back, we were on. We heard you say everything about the build part, and then everything froze up, I believe.
All right. So the next action you can perform with your workers is the build action.
Yes.
There are 2 actions associated to buildings. There's the build action and the develop action. The build action allows you to buy the building to begin with, so you'll spend the amount of gold equal to the gold in the bottom left of the building card. So for example, the marketplace costs 1. And then you'll put hourglass tokens on the building equal to the hourglass number in the bottom right of the card. This shows how long that building takes to develop. So you'll use 1 action in order to actually build the building, and you'll use another one to develop the building. Develop just lets you remove one of these hourglass counters and get the building closer to being in play. So buildings abilities don't actually work until the last hourglass counter is removed, and then you start to get that building's ability. All buildings are long term, so once you build a building, it's in play unless it gets destroyed. So you'll notice there is a heart at the bottom middle. So buildings can take damage and can be destroyed, which we'll get to when we get to unit actions.
Okay.
So the next action you can perform is the recruit action, which lets you buy units. One thing I want to note here, because it's a situation that's here right now, is if there's two cards that are the same, for example, there's two assassins here, they actually get stacked. So there's always 3 unique cards each of these. So sorry.
Now, when they're stacked like that, if I were to buy an assassin, I get the assassin. Do I get both, or do I just get one and then the other one stays in the middle there?
Exactly. Yep. You just get one and the other one stays in the middle.
Got it. So then one of these comes out, right?
So one of those will come out.
There we go. I got it.
The points. All right. So what you'll do is you'll pay the cost in the bottom left of that unit. So for example, the assassin costs 5. So you'll pay 5 coins. Then you will take the unit and place it on the board. So each player has their own kingdom. You'll notice that each of them are turned to represent what kingdom they are. So there are 4 different crests for each of the kingdoms. So for example, the bear's kingdom is right here. In Tabletop Simulator, we have it programmed that when you set a unit card, it'll automatically turn it based on the kingdom you're in.
Very nice.
So basically, the units will face in the direction of your kingdom. So the assassin is facing that way because it's in that kingdom, and it'll face the other way in whatever kingdom you place it in. So if the bear builds this, he can put it face up in his... Oh, I guess.
Now, when you place, you could place in any of these 3 squares or any of these 6 squares?
Any of these 3 squares. Yep.
Okay.
So these 3 squares right here are the 3 squares that you can place units in. And the first turn you place a unit, you put a new unit counter on it.
Okay.
After you perform all of your actions with your workers, you're allowed to move and attack with any unit that doesn't have a new unit counter on it. So it does take a turn for your units to be able to move. After these are removed, which they'll be removed at the beginning of your turn, all of your units can move and attack 2 times. So let me move these leaders off the board.
Okay.
This assassin, for example, after I perform my actions with my workers, can move up to 2 spaces. And units cannot move through walls. So next turn, I wouldn't be able to move this assassin forward. I would have to move him around the walls here.
And the two spaces are up, down, left, right, or diagonal as well?
All up, down, left, right. You cannot move diagonally.
Okay. We talked about this when I met you at Portal. Octagonally is the only way they can move, correct?
Octagonally is the only way they can move. So the assassin's a little bit of a special case, so I'm going to take him off the board so we can just kind of see a simple battle go on here. So the way combat works is if I have the Juggernaut and this player has the Knight,
yes.
I can have my Juggernaut attack the Knight if it's adjacent. What was that?
No, I was just saying yes. Yep.
So if my Juggernaut is adjacent to the Knight, I can have him attack. As discussed before, adjacency is only orthogonal, so diagonal would not be adjacent, only next to... Yep. When a unit attacks, what they do is they deal damage equal to their attack. Their attack is listed in the bottom right side of the card. So the Juggernaut would deal 1 damage to the Knight. There are damage counters which track how much damage each unit has taken. Then whenever a unit attacks, the other unit can counterattack. So the Knight, since it has 2 attack, can then deal 2 damage to the Juggernaut unit.
Okay, and that's automatic.
It's automatic. So no. The player gets to choose. So if there is a situation where you don't want to kill an enemy unit, you can refuse to attack if you'd like. Okay,
but like but there's nothing that normally stop unless are there cards that stop a counterattack from being able to be performed?
No, there is one card that prevents you from taking damage from a counterattack in the items file. But
no unit inherently has some kind of special ability that allows them to avoid counterattacks.
There actually are 2 units that let them avoid counterattacks. The assassin and the archer both avoid counterattacks, but they avoid it for themselves and against themselves. So if they attack, they don't get counterattacked, and if they get attacked, they don't counterattack. But those are details. Yep. So in combat, the Juggernaut would deal 1 damage to the Knight. The Knight would deal 2 damage back to the Juggernaut. And then if a unit has equal to or more damage counters than its health, which is the heart in the center, that unit dies. When a unit dies, it gets removed from the board, and you choose to either pay 2 gold to add it to your research, which we have these little hidden research sections here.
Of course.
Can choose to just discard it, put it along the side of the board in that discard pile we talked about earlier.
Okay.
In order to just get rid of it. So it's your choice whether you want to put it in your research, and research will allow you to buy it back later. So we'll get to research in one moment with the next action, but before we do, I just want to go through attacking a castle quick.
Oh, sure.
So when moving and attacking with units, you can attack other units, but you also can attack castles. So if your unit is adjacent to a castle, you can choose to attack it. So this knight can attack this player's castle, and when it does, it will deal 1 damage to their castle. When you deal damage to a castle, you can choose to either damage the player themselves, who have 10 health, or you can choose to deal damage to one of their buildings. When you do, your unit, whether you attack a castle or a building, will always take 1 damage of counterattack from the castle. So the knight, for example, can only deal 3 damage to the castle or to that player's building before the knight dies. So that's how attacking castles work. The one other note there is that units can defend castles. So if there is a unit within someone's castle, let's say the assassin was within this player's castle and the knight attacked it, the assassin can guard the castle. If it does, the knight and the assassin would battle just as they normally would.
Okay.
There's one caveat there. So that's combat. That's how that works. So you build units and go to combat with other units, as well as other people's castles or buildings. If you manage to eliminate a player's castle, meaning you take it down to 0, you get 2 victory points and you get an additional worker. So it is beneficial to attack, but it's also very difficult to do. So that is attacking. Yeah. Then there are 2 more actions. One of them is research. I mentioned before that you can buy back units to your research, but you can also use a research action to gain more cards into your research. Research is basically this special section right here that allows you to hide cards from your opponents and then buy those cards later on. So you can buy any of these 9 cards that are available here, or you can buy a card out of your research. The way the research action works is you draw 3 cards from the top of deck. You then put one of those cards in your research. You put one back on top of the deck, and you put one on the bottom of the deck. An opportunity to scry through a deck if there's a specific card you're looking for, or if the 3 face-up cards are just not anything you're particularly wanting or are good for your strategy. By putting a card in your research, you then hold on to it for a later time to buy. You put a card on the bottom of the deck, which can be useful if you're trying to keep a card away from somebody else based on their strategy, and then you put a card back on top of the deck, which can be useful for you if there's a card that you want up or a card that you just don't think anybody else is going to find useful.
Excellent.
Last action is actually listed on the worker card itself because only basic workers can use this action. This is the upgrade action. So the last stack of cards here is this green upgrade stack right up here. And these are upgrades for your worker cards. So workers are basic. They just do kind of a basic job. However, they can go to school and get better at something specific. If they do, basically the way it works is you ask your worker, what do you want to do when you grow up? And the worker says, well, I want to do this or this. You choose. So you get to choose what the worker does, but you can't define exactly what they're going to do. So they give you 2 options. You choose one of those options. You place it face up in front of you. You put the other option on the bottom of the upgrades deck. And you put 3 hourglass counters on it. Upgrades are developed the same way buildings are, except once an upgrade is finished being developed, it replaces one of your workers. So once you take the last hourglass counter off of this, whichever worker removed that last hourglass counter will be replaced with this.
Interesting.
That's how upgrades work. And there are 5 different upgrades, each of them for the 5 actions we just went through. So there's one that's good at buying items, one that's good at building buildings, one that's good at recruiting units, and so on and so forth.
Great.
So those are all the actions. That's how you play Furtherance. And the ultimate goal of the game is to reach 6 victory points. So you'll see each player has a victory point tracker here. So the way you get to 6 victory points is there are cards in each of these decks that give you victory points that you need to acquire in order to get to that point. So there's buildings that just give flat out victory points as long as you can keep them built. Obviously, they can be destroyed, so it's important to defend them. There's the civilians card, which is kind of like a building in that you get a victory point as long as it's alive. It's just easier to kill and takes up one of your units.
It's also very expensive.
Yes, all victory point cards are very expensive because obviously you don't tend to get them until you've already built some sort of engine. Then there is the flag bearer. The flag bearer will actually give you will give you 1 victory point for every 2 units you have in the center 9 squares of the board right up here. So the flag bearer gives you victory points if you get central control. So having control of those center squares is important. Additionally, similarly to that is Holy Grail. Holy Grail is an item that you actually equip to one of your units. So what you do is when you play the Holy Grail card, you take a token, the Holy Grail token, and you put it on one of your units. And then if you can get that unit to the center of the board, you get 2 victory points as long as you keep that unit alive. So Holy Grail is a good way to get a quick 2 victory points if you can get your unit to the center. And then the last one is Excalibur, which is similar to Holy Grail, except it gives you a victory point every time your unit kills another player's unit.
Ooh, okay.
So those are all the ways to get victory points. And your goal is to acquire a mix of those in order to reach 6 before anybody else does.
Got it. Cool. So would you like to do maybe 1 or 2 rounds so we could give the people the idea of flow? Okay.
All right. So let's choose leaders.
All right. I think I'm sitting...
One thing I want to note at this point is that there is kind of 2 styles of playing the game. There's the beginner's version and the other version. So the beginner's version and the regular version. So the beginner's version, each player starts with 2 workers, and there's particular leaders you can use. Once you're familiar with the game, you then go down to 1 worker and can choose whatever leaders you want. The reason for this is it just allows players to kind of do more on their turn. Because once you're familiar with the game, you can kind of take your turns faster with 1 worker. But before you're familiar with the game, it just goes faster to start with 2 and then to go to 3 victory points instead of 6.
Okay.
So all that to say, Will, you've played this game before.
I have.
Do you want to do 1 worker or 2 workers? How are you feeling?
Well, we could do the 2 workers just to show, get people kind of acclimated, and we're only doing a few rounds on Wednesday. When you're playing with Chris and those guys on Crunchy Cardboard, or when those guys are playing Crunchy Cardboard, then they'll probably play that variation.
Good.
All right. So I have...
So we'll start 2, and let me... which person are you right now? You switched.
I'm going to be over here. I'm going to go to red, actually. I'm teal, but I'll be playing as red, I guess.
Yeah, I'm just going to switch to green. No.
Because it should work, right? Or do I have to change my color to actually red?
You don't have to change your color to red, but you won't be able to see your research if you don't.
Oh, okay. Then let me do that.
That is one benefit to changing. I mean, you don't have to see your research. I'm fine with you not knowing what's in your research.
Yeah, you would say that. All right.
All right. So let's get started. First 3 leaders that come up that work for a beginner game. So 2 and 3. So do you want to go first or do you want me to go first?
You can go first.
All right. So typically if you want to decide, you can decide, or the oldest player goes first in standard kingdom fashion. So I'll go first.
Nice.
I'm going to grab Bender.
It's the Spender.
He allows me to buy 1 item per turn without using my workers' actions. So
okay,
gives me kind of quick ag.
All right, I'll just go with the Augmenter. Audric, the Augmenter.
I was hoping you wouldn't choose that one.
Oh yeah,
but that's my wife's favorite, and she always beats me with it, and it makes me sad.
All right, so I got Audric over here. So I'll let you go ahead and take your turn first.
All right. Oh, I'm sorry. I totally blanked there. Normally, the person who goes second chooses their leader first, but we've already chosen, so I'll blame that. All right. So, I'll start by mining for 4 gold. So turn my worker 4, and I will have my other worker a medical center for 4.
Ooh. Okay.
So I will put that face up in front of me. It takes 1 hourglass. Oh, I gotta put this back. Glass counter. So I will set that on it.
Okay.
And flip out a new building. And then it's your turn.
All right. I start with how much gold?
4 gold.
4 gold. I am going to use my first worker to collect mine, which is I get 4 gold. And then I'm going to spend 5 on... I'm going to go ahead and spend 5 on a worker upgrade.
All right.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead with the miner upgrade.
Oh, nice. How did you do that? I'm still learning tabletop.
Right click and then search.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. So the miner is my upgrade, and then it's 3 development things for the timer on that.
Yes.
Where are my little time pieces? Over here. There we go.
Yeah, the
1, 2, 3. Okay, so and buying that using the upgrade on the second one. So that's all I could do this turn. And then the 5 tokens that I spent go here. All right.
Perfect. So I'm going to use my first worker to develop my medical center. So my medical center is now in play. And then I'm going to use my second worker to research off of the unit's deck. So let me... I know there's a way. I think I can.
Yeah. So 3. The best way to do it is put your mouse over the deck and hit the 3 number on your keypad.
Ah, nice.
And then do what you will with the rest of them.
Did it twice. I'm not trying to cheat. I swear. I'm just.
Oh, what'd you take? 33 cards?
Kidding. Thankfully. I guess.
It's happened.
Yeah. That could have been worse.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm looking at these. I'm gonna put this one in my research. Set that
What'd you get? What'd you put in there?
Put that guy on top, and this guy or girl on bottom. You're up.
All right. What's the offer look like over here? Let me take a look. I gotta spin my camera around here. Sorry if I'm making you guys sick. This gets replenished, right? The item?
As soon as you buy it.
Oh, did you buy an item up here? Yeah, you did, right? Yes? No?
Not. I researched the units.
But is there an offer of 3 or 2 for items? 3, right?
You're covering the Holy Grail. Do you know?
Oh, it was glitched or something. I couldn't see it. That's all that happened.
Gotcha. Okay.
Shuffle that because...
Well, fine. Maybe I wanted that card.
Yeah, not anymore. Bye. All right. Let's see. So I'll go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and double develop.
Fine.
And back to you.
Your one worker help your other worker study. I don't care.
Yeah, he needs help. He's got that minor exam, the mining exam.
Exam. Yeah, definitely. I'm gonna mine with one of these guys, but then I'm gonna immediately buy the Juggernaut with the other.
I don't like that.
Well, I do. So hot, take that.
Don't like that.
He gets a new unit counter. He's fine. You're fine. You're still a few turns away from him storming you and wrecking your castle. But go ahead.
Yeah.
You have a miner. You can get a bunch of gold and.
I know. Well, I'm going to develop I'll develop my dude into a miner. Miner's gonna replace this one over here. I immediately get 6 gold.
Are you gonna go for the gold mine and make just a mining engine?
Maybe. Oh wow, really? That's pretty intense. I think I'm.
Yeah, that would be a lot of gold.
Yeah, you tricked me just now.
To me.
But I'm gonna do it because I want to see all the gold I can make. I'm gonna purchase the gold mine, and then how many?
Are you developing it right away?
I can't because this miner replaced the one that was already.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. So how many? One, right? Yeah. Got it.
Whatever it says.
Got it.
So this will get flipped out.
I'll get it if you want. There you go.
I can do it eventually.
I can do it.
All right, guard tower.
Oh.
That
that has to go. Is what you're thinking?
Yeah, that should go away. Which I see a report right there, so I think I'm going to do that. So I'm going to use my leader ability, which lets me buy an item without using an action.
Oh, that's dirty.
Report. Play the report. Get discarded into the ether to add the guard tower to my research. You can have a different card, which I would have laughed if it was another guard tower.
Disgusting.
Disgusting or genius?
Disgusting.
Gonna, I think, just mine for. So I'll grab a 5. I want to grab all of them. It does.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I got 8, and now I'm going to move my Juggernaut 2 spaces forward. Your turn.
Yeah, that's his movement, huh? 2 spaces. You're going to hit my castle. I know that's coming. I'm going to go ahead and develop this mine with my worker. And...
Mine for a ridiculous 6.
Yeah, I'm going to mine for 6. And it's back to you. This worker's finito. Your Juggernaut only does 1 damage though, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. I'm gonna actually mine for 8 gold, and then you can go.
Mine for 8 gold, you say?
I do say.
I don't know about that.
Did it. Mr. Mine for 6 with 1 worker.
I'm mining for 6 again. And let's see what I can buy.
That's so funny. Oh, are you going for the treasury? Are you just going to try to roll in money?
Might. I'm going to actually go ahead and pay 8 for City Hall. Where's the gold mine? That has to go out somewhere, right?
In front of you. It just doesn't have any counters on it anymore.
Oh, okay. But it is a building, right?
Yep.
Is that one you can attack or no?
Yep. So you can attack buildings whether they're being developed or not.
Okay.
Yep. So they can all be attacked. They're just not on the board. When I attack your castle, it lets me damage your buildings if I want.
Okay.
I can choose.
Got it.
That's quite the stack, right?
It is quite the stack. And so I mined 6 and I bought that, so it's back to you.
All right, back to me. I think I'm gonna mine for 8.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna move my Juggernaut back. Your turn.
Why? Oh, because he was only going to do 1 damage, and I can heal that damage.
2 gold. Well, I guess you have a mining engine, so it doesn't matter. Did you pay for? Yeah, you did pay for your city hall, right?
Nope.
Cheap.
See
how it is.
Yeah, I know. Everybody in chat's probably like, Will cheats. There he goes, cheater Will again.
Oh, yeah.
All right, back to me.
Yep, you're good.
All right, so I'm going to have to go ahead and mine for another 6. And then I'm going to have to...
We didn't replace that building.
Oh, yeah. Oh, hi there, church. I'm going to buy that church.
Okay.
How much is that? 6? 5.
Yeah, it's 5 with 3 turns. Investing all in buildings, huh? Not going to diversify at all?
I should. And that's my turn. Go ahead.
I'm going to use my leader ability to Holy Grail.
I don't like it.
Immediately to equip to my Juggernaut. Oh, look, Excalibur. That would have been fun. Equip that to my Juggernaut. So now if I get my Juggernaut to the center of the board, I get 2 victory points as long as he's there.
Yep.
And then it's your turn.
Yep. Okay. I see what you did there. Okay. Mine 6. What do those units look like over there? I guess I'm going to have to...
Research?
Yeah.
Slow you down.
Mm-hmm.
That's one interesting thing, too, is that it's always different based on how many players you have.
Yeah.
There's more people that could try to stop me from getting toward the center.
Yep.
6 victory points, though. F2.
Yep. Very true. Very true. Go ahead.
Right, I'm going to collect 8, and then I'm going to move my Juggernaut.
Move him 2. Oh, that's cute. You now have 2 victory points, sir.
Cute? Cute is not the right word for a Juggernaut holding a Holy Grail in the middle of a battlefield.
Nah, it's all right. It's kind of cute.
Fearfully looking up at him is a little cute.
All right. To purchase from research, I have to use a worker action, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so I'll use that worker to pay 4. Bring out my Knight, who has wherever the just came in token is. There it is. Oh, what to do? Let's farm a little 6 more coins with my miner, and then he can't move. So back to you.
I use my leader ability to spend 5 on the invincibility cloak.
Oh, that's cute. Double cuteness going on over there.
Cuteness. So I'm going to grab that, and then I'm going to use my other worker to mine for 4.
Mm-hmm.
Juggernaut, because I have a cloak, and he'll be fine.
He'll be fine. Cloak ignores 1 attack, right?
Just 1 attack.
Yeah. All right. Back to me. Sorry, Brent. Is it back to me? Okay.
Can you hear me?
We're cutting out. Yes, you said?
You're good.
All right. So I will go ahead and... All right, I'm going to tap him to buy the quarry for 5. And I'll tap my miner to take 1 off of that. Take 1 development off of that quarry. Go ahead, your turn.
Your knight's no longer new if you want to move him.
Oh, right. You have 6.
Pending doom.
Nah, I'm okay. Go ahead.
8, and I am going to warn you, mostly because I don't think there's a way you can stop me. Civilians, and get my 3rd victory point. So...
Oh, that's right. We're only playing a 3. I forgot about that. I thought they were playing a 6. Got it. So, with that being said, you win the game.
Although, actually, you might be able to mine for 6. How much gold do you have?
I have...
crud. Yeah, you can mine for 6 and buy it before me. So I shouldn't have bragged. I should have just...
No, it's okay. That's fine. I didn't see the play. So, like, basically, but just so people are aware, the game does, if you're playing 2-player games, goes very quickly. It could stretch out if you're doing counter type of turns. Obviously, you saw the way I was playing. I was just experimenting with how much gold I can really get, and Brent has tons of experience with this game so far, which is obviously noted, because your first move was to really just push me and start hitting my castle, and then when I pivoted and reacted, you pivoted and reacted and said, "Oh, okay, I'll just pop the Holy Grail on my Juggernaut and then sit here on 2 victory points to try to move the game around." And I forgot we were playing a 3, because if we were playing a 3, I would have been developing these more aggressively.
Yeah, I was wondering I thought you were just having fun with all the gold. And
I got distracted. The gold distracted me.
That's easy to do.
TBH.
I've played 2 6 victory points that got 0 victory points, and at the end of the game they went, "Oh, I was so close. Can we play again?" I'm like, "Were you?
Were you though?" But yeah, so that gives a pretty good encapsulation of what to look at or how to play the game, basically. But there are multi-tiered strategies behind it. The game does drastically change, obviously, if you only have a single worker. Turns definitely go a lot quicker because you can only take 1 action. But definitely having her in a game like that. Sorry, not her, Ivan. Where's your leader? Having Sabrina in a game like that where you don't have to use an action to buy an item is kind of ridiculous. Because if you have 1 worker, that means that you only have to generate gold with that 1 worker and then keep getting items without having to pay an extra action later, right? But obviously it does balance in a way. It will balance.
The way it does typically balance is that not everyone can have every item. Items are very situational, and they're also very unit focused.
Very true.
Not all of them, but there are a lot that are very unit focused. The other thing is other players can still buy items. So if they see items that are useful to Sabrina, they can buy them. Mm-hmm. And as a worker action, you can buy up to 2 of the items. So she is saving half of an action when she buys them, and which can be useful. For sure, but definitely, typically the situation doesn't occur where she can buy an item literally every turn. But you're right, if she can set it up so that happens, or if she can get things like the marketplace that give her a gold every time she buys an item, she can definitely build a pretty strong engine there.
Absolutely.
People will sometimes, if she does do that, will target her. Which is another interesting aspect too, is that sometimes if you do end up building a really strong engine, people consider you a threat.
Well, yeah, and I was actually laughing because, like, part of me wanted to buy all these and then just, like, have a ridiculous gold engine. But then, again, I forgot 3 points. If it were a 6-point game, then I might have had enough time to develop out that engine. And then definitely. once that was going, then I wouldn't have to really worry as much about devoting people to developing those buildings. But yeah.
And
Go ahead.
Prize. Sometimes only 1 or 2 is all it takes to get a good enough engine to build some momentum for the game, but it really just depends what's going on. So
yeah. Excellent. Well, with that, everybody who joined us this evening, thank you very much. For those out in Twitch land, everybody who watches the VOD, gives us a little like and maybe subscribe action on YouTube. We'd really appreciate that. So thank you guys for the continued support out there. Thank you, Brent, for joining us tonight with your game Furtherance, which is currently on Kickstarter. So please go check it out if you liked what you saw here, or if you like even more of what you see on the Kickstarter page. Go ahead and hit the back button and get him up to 4,000 is where you need, right? That's your funding goal.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't you guys get him up to like 15 grand, so then he could maybe do this for a living.
That would be great. We do have some cool stretch goals, and as soon as you back, you can vote on what stretch goals you want us to do. So
there you go. Excellent. But thank you guys. Thanks everybody for joining us. And again, thank you, Brent. That will be it for Table Crashers tonight. Catch us again Wednesday, where we will play Furtherance at the table for Crunchy Cardboard. Good night.